Hello guys, welcome to our YouTube channel on our success stories series. Today we focus on an entrepreneur, a man who has ventured into the area of entrepreneurship, and we want to hear his side of story as we speak to him one-on-one. So Dr. Atandi, welcome to our YouTube channel. Maybe you can tell us about yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Srai, for the invitation. Okay, my name is Dr. Fred Ichana Atandi. I'm a practicing entrepreneur. I'm a teacher. I'm an author of books. And I also like reading the Word of God. I think that's a brief about myself.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Atandi.
Yeah.
Briefly tell us about your job profile.
Okay, indeed, I want to thank God because I've been able to work in various places. First, major part of my life has been in private sector. Number one, as a practicing entrepreneur for over 10 years. And I also worked as a banker in various branches, Kisumu, Kitale, Bungoma, and Nairobi, in various capacities. And of course, currently as a lecturer at Kibabi University. But then even before I came to Kibabi University, I was acting dean of School of Business in Bugema University in Uganda. I think that's the brief about myself.
Okay, as you can see, it's a beautiful background in terms of job. He's worked in banks. He's now in Kibabi University, and that means Dr. you're doing well. Yeah. So maybe you can tell us, are you happy with your current achievement?
Indeed, I want to say that so far so good. I am where I had planned to be, and God has been able to fulfill the same because indeed, as I did my first degree, I desired that I should do the second one, and God has seen me through the same, and of course the third one. So by the time I was working in the bank, that's when I managed to earn my PhD. Then I had to move into teaching, where I feel I am satisfied because I'm mentoring young people to also become even entrepreneurs and even become even much better than perhaps even myself.
Okay, as you can see from the achievement, you've achieved whatever you wanted to achieve. So what actually motivated you, or what is the biggest factor behind your success, Dr.
Indeed, success is worked for. Success is worked for because you have to know that you are a brand as an individual. So you plan to be where you want to be, of course, God willing. And indeed, the main motivation is that at every stage of life, I'm able to leave a mark. At every stage, I've been able to walk through. And indeed, it has been possible. So every time I make some small achievements, it has enabled me to move to the next level of attempting other challenges so as to realize the same. And I think that has been the greatest motivator. The next thing, of course, is being grounded well in the Word of God, because the Word of God gives you hope in everything. So that hope keeps moving you from one level to the other. And I think that has been my greatest motivator, because I know I'm not alone. And of course also my family. Well, you know, when you are also correct with your family, it becomes much more easier also to move, because you have what we call team members who are able to cheer you up even as you move on from one step to the other.
Okay, thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
You are in the field of entrepreneurship. Maybe you can encourage somebody out there. What business can one start?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, entrepreneurship is not passive. Entrepreneurship is active. It is action oriented. So the number one step to be able to be successful in entrepreneurship is to set up your mind, focus your mind. We call it mindset. I've written one book which is called Entrepreneurship or Mindset, and and the first step is the mind, because all we do, it starts and ends in the mind. So the first thing is the mindset. Once the mindset is correct, then identify a gap a gap within the village where you stay, within the community where you stay, within the environment where you stay, which means you scan that environment. What is a gap? A gap is a problem which is not yet solved. So then you move a step further to tackle that problem. So if you are the first person to tackle the problem, then you have the first product or the first solution, which then will pay you, and that's what becomes your business. So essentially are you able to see around your environment? Do you see some gaps? Do you see some problems which others are fearing to tackle? But then for your case, you feel you can go ahead and tackle that. Then you move ahead. So it's about getting out of yourself, going to where others don't want to go, but you become the first one to go there. Then that's where your space is. And indeed, I want to encourage our students and even to the listeners that things don't just happen, but plan for these things to happen. And the planning for them to happen is to be well focused, see the problem, go for it, face it, be the one to exploit it. Then there you are to go. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Daktari. Maybe you can tell us, Daktari, what advice do you have for somebody maybe who has started his or her business and they expect, for example, profit immediately, or maybe the business is not doing well and he or she is discouraged? What advice do you have for them?
Indeed, thank you so much, Dr. Sirai. Indeed, business is not a simple thing to do. Business is a long process. But I want to say that you can do any kind of business so long as you have the necessary skills, you have the necessary attitudes which will promote you. If you're doing a business and it's not doing well, you don't have to stick in that business. Venture into something else, because it means you are not able to do the proper scanning right from the beginning. You can still move on into something else which is better off. But whatever you look for then, it must suit your own characteristics, your own traits, because you cannot separate business from yourself, especially when it is very small. So if what the business demands from you, if you do not have it, then you cannot be successful at the end of the day. So especially in the initial stages. So I want to say that yes, businesses are tricky, but then it's also good you can even seek some advice from mentors, from people who have worked the same way. Then you can be able to pick up. But how much do you need to start business? Sometimes none. You may not need anything. You may only need networks. If you need to get networks, you can straight away be able to even start a business. So you don't have to accumulate a lot of money, then you start a business. Sometimes we only need network. Sometimes we only need small businesses. Okay, let me give an example of the so-called mambogas. Mambogas. How much stock do they buy on daily basis? Perhaps of 2,000 shillings, 3,000 shillings. But what is more important is what is the profit margin? What is the profit margin in whatever wares that they buy? If the profit margin is so reasonable enough to cover for the whatever cost they incur, then that is the way to go. So you can also venture into anything as long as the profit margins are well reasonable.
Okay, thank you, Daktari. As you've told us, you've worked both in private institutions, public institutions, and you're also a business person. So which way, maybe you can advise our viewer, maybe he or she is asking himself or herself, should I get employment or should I venture into self-employment? Okay, thank you so much for that question. I want to say this. For our students who are just graduating, I want to advise that don't take too long to look for jobs in various towns, perhaps even in various rural areas. If I can give my own example, it may not apply to you. When I first graduated, I went to Nairobi to look for a job. I was there for 3 months. No job came by. So I decided, let me move to a smaller town. I went back to Eldoret. I did my undergraduate from my university. In Eldoret, I was able to use my networks, and eventually
I had to get some small jobs, which eventually pushed me to even starting my own business. So I want to say, you cannot, whichever way it comes first. If you are lucky to get a job immediately after employment, a reasonable job for that case to cut off for your basic needs and also for other needs, well and good. But don't take too long before you venture into something of your own. I want to inform you that the plot where I have built my house up to now, I bought it out of my business. When I did my master's degree, of course, despite all other supports I received from my parents and friends, I also, the business also paid for my master's degree. It's only the PhD. By the time I was doing my PhD, I was working in a bank. I was able to get such salary, and it paid for that. I want to say I'm a beneficiary of owning my own business, and it has supported me even to this day. So which way to go? It depends on opportunity, the way opportunities present themselves. If a job presents itself to you, grab it. If self-employment presents itself to you, go for it. And whichever way, what you get is money. It doesn't matter you get it from formal employment or from informal employment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ali. So maybe on our parting shot, on matters business, maybe you can advise our viewers about business ideas. Maybe he or she wants to start, maybe the requirements. In brief, just talk to them.
Okay, number one, as I've said, juggle your mind and understand yourself. But sometimes we don't understand ourselves. Just know what are you good at. You are good at speaking. You are good at calculations. You are good at waking up early enough. You are working until late. Then pick a business which suits your very traits. That one, I can assure you, you can go very far. Do not love what others are doing, but love what your characteristics can be able to give you. Exploit yourself. Sometimes we want to exploit what others are doing, but exploit your potential. So know your potential. Once you know your potential, then go a step further to exploit it. And I want to say, just like our president said, kazi ni kazi. So long as you get something out of it, so long as it's illegal, it is acceptable. Don't mind what others are saying, but at the end of the day, have you been able to meet your basic needs first of all? Then of course you can be able to grow that business. Number two, start growth-oriented businesses. Growth-oriented business means it's a business which can grow from being small, from being micro to small, medium, and large enterprises. So that also motivates you because you are able to see yourself moving from one step to another. I think I have really emphasizing on that. Be able to move from one step to another. So have a business which can have some kind of trajectory, which you can be able to grow from being micro, small, medium, and large enterprises. Another point I want to encourage you is have networks, people to work with, support systems. Could it be from your family or your friends? Sometimes you drop some friends if they cannot support your agenda, that's your business agenda, then drop them, pick up others who can be able to be with you. I want to believe that you will not go wrong when you follow the steps I've been able to highlight.
Okay, guys, as you can see, these are some of the beautiful stories that we bring to inspire you, to motivate you to reach your full potential. As you've heard from Dr. Atandi, who is an entrepreneur using the line of entrepreneurship, he has said, first of all, identify the gap. Don't just open a business because somebody else has opened. Do your research, identify the gap, so that when you come up with that business, it blossoms and flourishes within the shortest time possible. And he's also saying, trust in God, and I'm sure he'll be able to make you achieve what you want to achieve. So we want to encourage you guys, subscribe to our channel, share with your friends, so that you can grow as a family. So we wish you well. We see you on our next video. Thank you.
Thank you so much.